Hello, and welcome to this sneak peek of Module 4 of my new course, Open Portal. Now, if you haven't already, take a look at Modules 1 through 3, where we set the stage with some foundational knowledge about what anxiety is, what goes on in the nervous system, and the role of our thoughts. So in these next couple of videos, we're going to get straight into the body-based ways we can start to work with anxiety and shift it. So in this module, we're going to talk all about the breath. And so, as I'm sure you can intuitively understand, the breath is the source of all life. It's what feeds our aliveness here on Earth. And whether we feel like we're breathing well or unwell affects so many other things in our life. It affects our mood, it affects our energy levels, it affects our self-esteem. And so it really is a very important thing to focus on, especially when we have anxiety. So when we are breathing well, we can help lessen anxiety for several reasons. The first one is the feeling of being unstuck. So allowing ourselves to pass through a moment rather than drowning in it. So if you've ever had a moment of anxiety that kind of stopped you in your tracks, it's likely that you were holding your breath. And so when we remember to breathe, and when we breathe well, we can really embody that feeling of being unstuck, right? That something is passing through us. Breathing also helps us to regulate our autonomic nervous system from Module 2. So it both helps us to activate the rest and digest, the parasympathetic nervous system, but it also lifts us out of states of hypoarousal or numbing or freeze or collapse. That gives us that sense of sympathetic activation where we become more alert when we are coming from that sort of downward state. And a phrase that I love that meditation teacher Tara Brach uses sometimes in her meditation is that feeling of being calm but alert. And so that's really that balance in the autonomic nervous system of feeling relaxed enough but alert enough and awake and aware. And so breathing helps us to regulate the autonomic nervous system so that we can come closer to that state. And as I mentioned in Module 3 about the role of our thoughts, that moment of discernment between an intrusive or negative or anxious thought and the action we take on behalf of it, breathing can help open up that space to give us more room to make a conscious decision that is going to serve us well. So what does it mean to breathe well? Well, there are many reasons and ways and ideas about what it means to breathe well, but I'm going to share a couple fundamental mechanical techniques around breathing that will help to make breathing easier. So the first one being having a diaphragmatic breath. So one of the primary way that we're designed to breathe is our diaphragm, which is a big band of muscles that sits just below the lungs and above the belly organs. When we breathe in, it's designed to go downward, and therefore our belly kind of pushes out to make room for the belly organs. And then as we breathe out, it returns back up, and the belly comes this way. So when we breathe in, there's a sense of the belly going out, the diaphragm going down. And then when we breathe out, diaphragm comes back up, and then belly relaxes. Now, typically when we're stressed or anxious, we don't actually breathe in a diaphragmatic way. We hold our belly muscles in, and therefore, in order to breathe, we have to use our secondary respiratory muscles, which are in the chest and shoulders and neck. So there's a sense of breathing in, going up, and breathing out, down. And so these muscles are not the most efficient muscles for breathing. They're designed to bring in oxygen quickly into the body in moments where we need that extra bit. So when we have a lot of activity going on. So that could be in a sprint or a run. Could also be in a panic attack when we're trying to get more oxygen in. We tend to breathe up here in our chest. And so interestingly enough, if we're breathing up here all the time, in our secondary respiratory muscles, we're actually simulating the same feeling that you might get from a panic attack. We might be actually exacerbating anxiety by breathing up here. So it's a really important skill to start to build, or even remember, because this is how our body was naturally designed to breathe, is that diaphragmatic breath. So breathing down into the belly, wide into the waist as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, it returns back to center. So another important factor in breathing well is whether you're breathing through your nose or your mouth. Now, in general, it's said that breathing through our nose is more beneficial. When we breathe through our nose, we control the temperature of the air, we filter toxins, we humidify the air. We can also sense odors, which is important to our survival. And in general, breathing through your nose helps you take a deeper breath. Now, the mouth, when we breathe through our mouth, sort of ongoing or in general, it can actually change the shape of our jaw. It doesn't filter toxins. It is a way of getting oxygen, again, quickly into the body. So when we hyperventilate or when we are on a long run, it's pretty natural that we want to breathe through the mouth because it brings the oxygen in quite quickly. But in general, we like to breathe through the nose, especially because breathing through the nose helps to stimulate the vagus nerve that is a part of that rest and digest down regulation that we mentioned in Module 2. Nose breathing also activates different parts of the limbic system that are related to survival and safety, which I briefly mentioned in Module 2, the amygdala, the hippocampus. It also enhances cognition and memory and brain function. So if you join the course, in Module 4, I'll show you a variety of breathing techniques that you can practice, both that help to downregulate your system, rest and digest, but also activate sympathetic nervous system when you are in a state of hyperarousal or collapse and you need to galvanize and find some energy. I'll also show you some really gentle movement sequences that help to open up different parts of the body to make breathing easier. So that's a sneak peek of Module 4. If you'd like to get on the wait list for Open Portal, head to the link above. If you're on YouTube, it's below, and all the information should be there. And so stay tuned for Module 5, where we'll talk about action, building strength, and resilience. Okay, see you then.